Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And today I have something a little bit different than, well, most of the videos recently that I've been posting, which of course are always tarot related. But the other half of sort of this channel and my content is definitely art centered. So today I am sharing with you my experience and me trying out for the first time, kind of like, it's not technically a subscription box, but they do this little box, which is it's from the markeruniverse.com, and they do little monthly blind box challenges. So this was one of my first tries doing anything like this. So definitely do comment down below if there's any other subscription box or mystery boxes like this that you think would be interesting for me to try out here on my channel. So again, the point of this whole thing is to take the items that are within the box and try to create something and not using anything else. I will say that the only additional thing that I used that was not in this box was a white gel pen, just for some added little white highlights at the end of the piece. Other than that, I solely used what was given inside this box, which was an interesting mix of things. So kind of going through what was in this particular box. I'm showing the items on screen as well, obviously, but I'm going to just go through what I have here and tell you what each thing was. So there's a number of different markers within this little blind box. Some of them are, well, the only one really that I would say that I recognize the brand was, of course, Winsor & Newton, because I have used their markers before, so I do have some idea what that was. The other ones I had never tried before, so that was kind of interesting, but one of the markers was a blue-gray. The other was a cool gray. There was also a brush liner, which was a dark gray, as well as a fine black liner, which I used later on. The Winsor & Newton brush was a sandstone color, and I'll go more into, how I used each one of these within the piece itself as we get closer to that. The other marker was a blue-green. There was also one which was called Autumn, I believe is the color, and it's kind of a darker orangey red, which you'll see again when I get to the piece. There was also a set of 0.5 liners in the colors of blue, pink, green, and black. And then they also included, which I actually really was excited about this one, which was a mechanical pencil that was a 0.5, I believe, but it was kind of nice. I do use a mechanical pencil usually with my work. Granted, the one that I use is more like a 0.7 lead. So this lead definitely felt a lot lighter, a lot smaller. So kind of get a lighter, more delicate line with it. So I'm definitely going to be using that pencil more in the future. The other kind of interesting piece that was in this particular set was, of course, acrylic paint marker, which is the orange marker that you see me hold up at one point, which right now these are like kind of the hot new thing ever since, Posca pens came out. It seems like everybody is doing some version of an acrylic pen at this point. The brand for this one is Crink, which is out of New York, I believe. So the next things that you're going to be seeing here on screen is me actually testing out all of these different things in the box just to get an idea. And what I did was I took a sketchbook that was just like regular, very thin paper, smooth paper, and then I took a piece of my typical Canson watercolor paper, which is what I usually use for a lot of my works. Especially because I do usually base a lot of everything on watercolor, but then I use other mixed media properties within that. And you'll notice that something I was reading on these particular pens, and what they even mentioned in the little note that they put in here is pro tip: swatch and test these water-based products on different paper. They also were talking about Well, but because they said that these water-based products, and then I was looking at the packaging, and again, it was saying water-based pigment, and it was saying light, fast, and waterproof. I kind of wanted to test that. Granted, that is why I was kind of putting just a little bit of water over the pens themselves, and as you can see, it does look like they bled quite a bit, but I'm not sure if that was just solely on the merit that I had just, put down the ink and then put the water over it, so that might have been part of it. I'll have to try these out and let the ink sit longer and then try the water and see if it bleeds on something. But overall, I would say that the quality of most of these supplies, they're not bad at all. My end opinion of it is that a lot of these are not really products that I would normally go for, just because I'm kind of used to what I already use, especially when it comes to like markers and liners and inks and stuff. I kind of have a set thing that I like. Part of the problem also, because it was funny, because I was swatching all these supplies on a specific type of paper, but that ended up not being the kind of paper that I decided to use for the final piece, which you now see me starting to sketch out. So this was something that I doodled in a different little sketchbook while at work, and then I went ahead and printed it out and used that to, using the light box to trace over to the paper that I actually chose, which is a kind of like a smooth Bristol, which is not usually something that I use. But I wanted to try using the smoother paper because I figured it would work better for these particular supplies because it's all marker based, and smooth paper is always going to be kinder to a marker than typically what I usually use, which is the watercolor paper, which has a little bit more texture. With that said, it worked perfectly fine for all the supplies except for, I will say, the acrylic paint marker. And you'll see as we get closer to that, what I attempted to do and what my idea was to have this box kind of around her and fill that completely with the bright orange acrylic paint marker. But as I started working on it, I realized that it was soaking into this particular paper like crazy, and kind of doing more than one pass over it was starting to tear up the paper. So I was like, as I started working through it, I was like, okay, I need to change my plan like on the fly. And so as you'll see, I ended up going for a more, what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know if you can hear my dog bark in the recording here, but something more abstract. Mickey, I'm recording, shush. But yes, it was kind of an interesting thing to try to use this acrylic paint marker. Again, it did not seem to like the paper that I was using. It didn't, when I swatched it on like the watercolor paper, it acted a lot better. And so did it even acted better on the sketchbook paper that I use. So I definitely think my mistake was not swatching it on this paper before I started getting into this particular piece, which, speaking of the piece itself, clearly I decided to draw a mermaid because it is May, and while usually each May I try to take part in Mermay, this year I haven't really done much of that, although I have some plans to do some mermaid pieces, which hopefully I'll get to before this end of May. But that is why I decided to do the mermaid here with these particular supplies, because again, it's the May's blind box, so figured mermaid would be a fitting subject. For her skin, I obviously used just the sandstone color, but I actually started with the cool gray to try to give a little bit of shadow and some dimension to her skin. But my plan with this was to keep it kind of, I don't necessarily want to say blocky, but kind of blocky with the color, because I knew that these were kind of unusual colors. Even though they are like complementary in a lot of ways, they were still like not exactly colors that are easily going to mix together and like blend together is what I mean. So used the sandstone for her skin, and then for her tail I used the blue gray color marker that they had in here, as well as that, what is the name again? Blue-green for sort of the patterns on her fins. Her hair is that autumn color marker, and that's solely what I used on her hair. And I also additionally used, because again, I was trying to use every single marker within this box, so I ended up using that dark gray marker for the kind of dark aspects of her hair. When it came to the liners, I didn't exactly know what to do with the liners, so I kind of went for my usual style with kind of the hair, and I just used the red pink for her hair to give it a little bit more interest, and then I used the green for lining most of the tail, and then the blue one as details of like the little dots and circles for that, which originally I thought I was going to line everything in just the black, but then I would have no idea how to incorporate these particular colored liners for this piece. I used the fine liner for her face and all of those details, and then I did not know what to use the 0.5 black marker for, because again, the 0.5, that is a pretty thick line, and this isn't exactly a huge piece, so I was just like, what can I do with this? So you'll see me, as we get closer to that, kind of put some additional abstract kind of shapes onto the background, kind of within the square, which I actually really liked how that decision went. I think it gives it a little bit of some more extra weirdness, which again is something that, I don't know, I just kind of had fun with this piece and just kind of did random things just to see what would happen. Again, test out these materials because they were interesting. Honestly, again, they're not exactly ones I would normally have chosen to put in my collection, I guess, but regardless, I'm still going to go ahead and use them, which I haven't mentioned. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, the box itself was around maybe like $32 or $38 for all of these materials, and of course, like shipping and stuff like that. So, would I do this blind marker box again? Probably not. Yeah. It's not that I hated it or anything, but it just, I don't know if maybe it was the colors, again, my choice of paper, but it wasn't my personal cup of tea. I'm very specific and very picky when it comes to my markers. And while I think these are a fine quality, especially if you're starting out with markers and you want something to learn with, these are a great option for that. The acrylic paint marker, my hands are up in the air on that one because I need to try out more of those. I definitely want to try maybe the Posca pens because there's some really pretty colors in that. So I'm not going to make a verdict on how I feel about the acrylic pens, but regardless, that is me rambling on about my experience with this mystery box. If you enjoyed this video, definitely do leave a like, subscribe. If you'd like to help support the channel in any way, all those links are in the description. So thank you so much for watching and have a great May.